In the arena, silence speaks. As each nuanced gesture crafts a dialogue of trust and precision between horse and rider. As movement builds, equestrians are transcending their disciplines to create new art forms, incorporating elements usually found in a theater of dancers and actors. Through freestyle, they engage their partners in a different mode of dance, transforming arenas into stages and performances into visual symphonies. Beyond sport, an infinite landscape of unity and expression comes to life in their quest for artistic symbiosis. 3 freestyle riders prepare to take the stage, each embodying a unique path in their evolving narrative.
This is my artistic way. People see something and envision a photo. I hear music and I picture reining patterns.
Sherry Schwarzenberger from Longmont, Colorado, where she and her parents, Steve and Dory Schwarzenberger, operate Schwarzenberger Equine. Sherry grew up in the reining industry, competing as a youth and non-pro. Graduated from Colorado State University. Sherry began doing freestyle when she was 10 years old. In the last 5 years, she's been reserve champion at the Ram Invitational Freestyle in Denver.
People ask how I got started in it. You know, I've been very lucky to be in the right place at the right time, you know, have my family, my dad and my mom that gave my sister and I opportunities.
We went to the very first reining in Minnesota, first freestyle that was in conjunction with the Derby, about 1986. A real good friend of ours hauled out there with us and he actually entered the freestyle. And Rocky Dare ended up winning that freestyle that year, but that was the very first one. The uppity-ups, the powers to be, if you would, they kind of poo-pooed it. It wasn't really wildly accepted amongst like Bill Horn and the guys that were really on top of the heap at that time. The push on it was to try to get some exposure to the people that didn't know anything about reining. Then it just took off from there. When we started, I mean, my idea of a costume was, you know, I'd put on a little tuxedo coat and a cowboy hat and maybe a tie. It wasn't as elaborate, and now, shoot, Sherry will go in as a bug.
Something my dad has always told me, you know, it's a reining competition first. Focus on your maneuvers and then go for your creativity and costume and choreography. My freestyle routine for the reining competition, the way it's scored, you're required to do a certain element. You're required to do 4 consecutive spins to the left, 4 consecutive spins to the right. Then you have to do a lead change from left to right and a lead change from right to left. And then you have to do 3 sliding stops. You start out with a 70 and they add and subtract per maneuver and go from there. Then you also get a transition score, so how you blend the music together, and then also like creativity, choreography score. One of the things that makes reining special is the horses just have to be so broke and so disciplined. They are trained on a neck rein, so like any slight pressure, they're supposed to move away from. They want it to be willingly guided and effortless. And it's a combo of your neck reins and your legs. It's all about teaching them to move away and give to pressure. And so that just takes lots of time to get them that broke.
The reining horse industry has really come a long way in breeding reining horses from when I first started. Some of our young horses, first time you say whoa and quit riding, they stop.
You You know, these horses are bred to do it. We've had babies that they're out in the pasture and they're running and they run and slide just on their own. We had a 2-year-old, he was a half Arabian horse that we had, and we put sliders on him, and he would burn through a pair of sliders every week just because running and sliding, he loved it. We got to where we couldn't turn him out there because he just loved it. He'd just run and slide, and that was before we even trained him to do it. We typically start our horses when they're 2-year-olds, beginning of their 2-year-old year. We'll start doing groundwork and stuff when they're yearlings, but we kind of want to wait till they're big enough and strong enough and developed enough to start riding them. First time they compete is 3-year-olds, and that's called fraternity horses. When they're 4, 5, 6, and 7, they're considered derby horses. Once they're past that, they're considered a maturity horse. For me, I look at that older group for them. They go through a little curve of, you know, like teenagers, well, I don't want to do that. And it's like, well, you have to. So we're going to figure out a way to get through this. And so they do. And, you know, eventually we joke that they hit a spot where it's like the light switches and they were like, okay, I'm a show horse. And they'll just go in and do it. Freestyle can be a lot, especially at the bigger competitions where you're throwing lights, fog machines, just the crowd noise itself. The loud music, it's a lot for the horse to take in, and you gotta have one that has the right mental ability to do it. They can get into it, and sometimes they get a little too into it to where, like, my old youth horse, that I did him for a couple of years, and he got to the point if he heard music in there, he was just like jacked up and would like take off. And you kind of go from being the driver to a passenger, so you have to be careful.
And that's the difference between a really cool horse and one that's a trooper and he goes and does his job every time. Then you got one that's looking for an out. And some of that's training and some of that's horse.
I tend to drift to ones that are quiet, more laid back. The horse I use the most, Eli, Game Day Surprise, he's bomb-proof, but he's been that way since he was a 3-year-old. He's 15 years old now, so he's done it 10 years. And I've been very blessed that he's hung in there with me. You know, I think it speaks to what a special horse he is. I know him probably better than I know myself. I know all his ins and outs, when he's having a good day, when he's having a bad day. And he trusts me. He knows I'm not gonna put him in a position where he's gonna, you know, get hurt or be in danger. So there's a lot of trust for that, and especially when you come to the bridleless. Everyone sees me and thinks, Sherry always rides bridleless, but you know, I have to trust the horse pretty well, and like the ones I try it on are the ones I know for a fact will never run off with me. When you're barreling down the pen at full speed, it's like, hope you're listening, because this could go really wrong and we could hit the fence.
Most of the time she goes in with no bridle. To me, that's a pretty big degree of difficulty. There's been people that say, well, I didn't even know she dropped the bridle till it was all done. Well, that says a lot for that pony. He's out there doing his thing with nothing on his head.
I've probably shown him more bridleless and freestyle routines than he's been shown with a bridle. Sometimes I joke, if you take their bridle off, a lot of them do even better. So the first time I did an official freestyle was the Ram Invitational Freestyle when I was 10. I want to say I did it to like Who Let the Dogs Out, or no, it was to Barbie Girl. And that was my first freestyle routine.
Please welcome Ken and Barbie. Come on, Barbie, let's go party.
And I remember standing in like the little tunnel to go out there, and I felt like I was gonna pass out and puke everywhere. And my mom is sitting there going, are you okay? And I was just like, no. And she's like, well, too bad you're in next. Like, go get him. They are fun and stuff, but they're nerve-wracking. when you're going out there in front of a sold out crowd. For me, just to play with the crowd is something I've had to learn to do. The thing that really stands out to me the most, and that separates the great freestyle reinings from just the regular ones, is the choreography, the actually listening to the music and trying to match your routine to the music. I try to fit my music to my horse, try to fit the costume to it, and when I'm coming up with my routine and maneuvers, highlight the things they do well. Your song choice really can help show off your horse and put them in an area to succeed. When I'm choosing songs, I really try to partner it with what the horse is, like Eli, I'm not gonna choose a really fast song because he's a little short and fat guy that doesn't run very fast, so it just doesn't look right. Where if you have a horse that's really quick-footed and, kind of has a lot of speed and dynamics to him, you can choose a faster song to highlight that. It's not just the execution of that maneuver, but the fact that someone can do it to music, that takes some creativity. In a really good freestyle routine, whether it's fast or slow, it's beautiful to watch. And, it is an art because it's the rider and the horse are completely in sync. Sometimes the simplest routines are the best ones. They maybe don't do a million maneuvers in it, but the ones they do are really good and they're to the music. In 2020, the week before the performance, I'd watched the movie about Elton John, Rocket Man, and I stumbled upon this song, I'm Still Standing. That song, I was just like, this could be really cool. We had to rush ship a costume, and I went for the crazy costume with the fire suit and the giant wings. The day of the deal, my dad is on our countertops drill bedding the wings together, trying to get them to stay, because when I put them on, they would flop and fall apart. So he's trying to get them strong enough to withhold riding. I put them on as I was walking in the pen, and I had no idea if they'd stay. I told my parents, I said, if these things choke me, I'm just gonna rip them off. I believe freestyle reining is a really good way to reach the general public and introduce reining to people who don't really know the horse discipline, don't know the sport itself, and maybe are new to horses. It's very entertaining, the crowd gets into it, and that's what I really enjoy about it.
I didn't really realize how good of a job we did. All but the very first or second year at Denver, it has been a sold-out deal. You'd see people that you didn't know, they'd come up and say, we love your freestyle, you love you at the freestyle, and this and that, and they didn't know anything about reining, but they loved the freestyle. The way it's gonna go is just gonna be more dynamic. The horses are doing some phenomenal stuff.
You don't think a horse can stop any bigger than it can, and then the next year one shows up and it's running so fast and stops even bigger, or you can't think they can turn any better, and all of a sudden the next year there's one that you're just like, oh my God, how does he even stop that, or how do you ride that? When you get done with a stop and you're like, oh my God, that was awesome. You get all excited and then you do the next thing and it's like, wow, that was really good too. A lot of these horses are just spectacular athletes, and you have to respect them for what they can do. It's humbling to get to ride them.
When you think you sit on a, 1,400 pound animal, that big and majestic, you feel like you're together in that movement. That feeling, I mean, sometimes I imagine that would be like being in a cloud. It just feels soft and elastic. That feeling is what keeps me going. It's very prestigious to ride Grand Prix, right? I mean, it's the highest level. But to me, it's a lot about what it feels like when you ride. And to me, there's no better feeling to ride for a really high score because it represents the lightness, the suppleness, and the partnership you have with your horse. That's what I think I'm fascinated with, and not necessarily the higher the level. It's more like how the horse goes. They're supple and they're elastic. Of course, it starts as a, little girl being horse crazy. And I remember I just was always more comfortable around horses than even people. So obviously, we don't speak the same language. Dressage, how I communicate with the horse is with my leg, my seat, and my hand. The goal in dressage is always that it's invisible aids. I think I look a lot in my training of systematic training and repetition, but without, over repeating. You really have to gather your thoughts and make it very clear. And it has to be always the same. It can't be mixed information. That's what gives the horse also something to lean on. So that's where the trust comes from, because they can rely on something, on the body language, because it is the same. It does take each level about a year to build the right strength for the horse to perform with lightness and ease. It's the same for us when we work out. If I can do 10 push-ups, yeah, okay. If you ask me then do 15, the last 5 will not look nice. They're gonna be struggling. It's a little bit with the horse like that too. So there comes so much horsemanship in training horses that you as a trainer also can make the decision of, is he now tired? Because if you always stay at your 10 push-ups, you're never going to increase strength. But if you do then 30, you're going to break the soul and the body. It's really important. It takes a lot of thought, feel, intuition, and general horsemanship that you also have to learn in order to be a good partner for your horse and have a good and positive outcome of your work and your performance. Sophia Chavanel, she's my right hand, I would say. She's been now with me, I think, like 2.5 years. We went together to Florida and she came with me to Europe last year to the World Breeding Championships. Giving her the time, she actually can really brush a horse and not just run a brush over the horse and put the saddle on and off we go. No, she really takes care of each horse and she has a relationship with each horse. That helps me again too with my work because they come to me very relaxed. When I cool my horse down or I warm it up, I do it myself. I don't have an assistant do that. That's me doing that because I also want that time with my horse, and I want to know my horse in and out. And that means if I ride outside on a trail, I want to know where does he get a little bit fearful, what gets him scared or what gets him excited. It's just knowing your horse in and out, because then when you go into the ring, they can get a little bit either excited or even scared. You have to have a system in place that brings the horse back to you and where the horse feels like he's in good hands with me, because we lived through that and we could rehearse that at home. When a horse gets excited, it's like boiling water. You want it to boil a little bit, but you don't want it to overboil. So that excitement has to stay in a positive range. I need to know my horse really, really well, because it's very little where that can go into a negative range, and the tension then in a test will be marked down in competition. It's a fine line always that we work with, where I always have to watch the difference between positive tension and negative tension. You know, when you do an extended trot and you first collect the energy, it's almost like a bow and arrow. You have prepared all that energy like almost a spring, and then you let it go. It's light and it's so powerful. Your regular dressage tests, you have to follow a pattern that is given to you. And you have certain movements that you have to demonstrate. The rider gets judged not only on the correctness of the position, but also on the giving of the aids and how much they're giving the right commands to the horse. In the freestyle, that's where you are given, like the word says, more freedom. So you can choose your own pattern, but you have to execute certain movements. And you can gain extra points if you connect and combine a couple of movements back to back. You should stay away from your regular lines that you have in a test. In the previous days, the judge wouldn't necessarily know your line of going, so you sometimes can improvise. In the big competitions, you have to give your floor plan. So then they know if you have a mistake, you can't cheat or repeat it or take a different route, but still have your movements in. So now you have to do a floor plan and you have to follow that. The thing is that in the freestyle, it's entertainment. I mean, I worked in a traveling horse theater, and so you have to make it entertaining. And I think music is a very powerful thing. Yeah, it can go pretty deep under your skin, I feel like. The movement of the horse, you can really find a beat in different music. The way I choose the songs, it's most of the time songs I listen to. And sometimes I hear something and I think, oh my God, that sounds so much like I could vision this horse or that horse and a certain movement with that. I really like movie music because in movies, the music is to also enhance what they are trying to showcase. Either a sad moment or a very exciting moment or an emotion. Every horse has some highlights. And so in the freestyle, that's your moment when you can really highlight those elements of your horse or you and your horse. I work with Marie Medosi, and she has a company called Rave Horse. She's a rider herself. It's hard for me to go somebody that doesn't ride. How would I describe my horse? Is he a little bit more like a ballerina, or is he a little bit more the powerhouse? Marie would so understand that.
Freestyle dressage is a way to showcase the horse's strengths. And in doing so, you can have a lot of fun with it as far as picking music that you like. But what we try to do at Rave Horse is to really match the music with the horse and how the horse's personality and the horse's movement can tell a story within the pattern and with the music itself, and also can enhance the horse's gait.
I look at my horse's personality, and I also look at the way they move. I have one gelding, his name is Mr. Spielberg. He's petite, so I have to pick a music that fits him and is not overpowering. And then the powerful one, I don't want to put a too soft music. I want to get points for where people get goosebumps and wow, you know, that's powerful, and the music enhances or carries that with the horse's movement.
The judges really are looking for cohesiveness, the artistic interpretation of the music. They also look at how the pattern is put together and the level of difficulty there. So you should try to create as difficult a pattern as possible, but hopefully not making a lot of mistakes. My goal is that you can watch the freestyle from start to finish and never be interrupted in your thoughts. If you can really captivate your audience with the dance and with this cohesive piece that rises and falls and can take you on a little bit of an emotional journey, it's like watching a good play or watching a good movie where all of a sudden the movie's over and you're like, wait, I want to see more of that. That's what is so incredible about Sabine's riding, is she really brings everything together in such a beautiful, fluid kind of way that in that sense it was very easy to make the music do the same.
So Sabine Shukiri and Sanseo, our penultimate combination of the evening.
Our sport, you know, is much like ballet. Dressage is a little bit harder to understand, and I think the freestyle is really helpful to get our sport a little bit more out there and enjoyable. You know, it grew out of the military. It was a lot of rules, and so the freestyle can be the moment for a little bit more fun and creativity. There is a lot of personality in each horse's performance, for sure. What I really love about working with horses is that you never stop learning. You know, you may be really good with one horse, but then you have to figure out your next one. And so it does show that it's very individual.
Is that good? Yeah.
I really want to let each horse's personality shine.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how many of y'all love real, genuine cowboys, but you are about to meet a real, genuine cowboy. At one point in his life when he lived in Australia, he was starting and training over 300 colts a year. This guy could do amazing things with horses, and he's world famous now out of Lexington, Kentucky. How about a big Texas welcome to Dan James.
Like most crazy horse people, right? We always love horse movies. So, I'd watch Zorro or, the Young Black Stallion. I loved The Lone Ranger and Tonto. What fascinated me about that was what they could get those horses to do. I was really lucky at home in Australia growing up, being on a ranch. Mum and Dad always had horses. About the age of 9, there was a sign for a pony for sale on the side of the road. And Mum and Dad drove in and there was this little steel grey pony. I remember saying to him, if you buy me that pony, I'll ride. And Mum thought, oh yeah, here we go, I've heard that before. Anyway, he was like maybe $300. And I called him Tono and never looked back. Tono was like that pony that really helped you decide whether you were going to pursue horses or not. Like, if there's any different direction that a person can fall off a horse, I fell off. That guy, he was so quick, he'd move to the left, I'd go to the right. His role in this whole scheme of things, if I look at it now, was the deciding factor of whether or not I was going to continue to pursue horses. I was just a bush kid from Australia, loved horses, was trying to figure out a way that I could get up every day and do it. And I happened to meet somebody that was equally as passionate about horses. My good mate and friend, Double Dan Horsemanship, Dan Steers. We were the Dan and Dan show. And during that season of our life, we travelled and toured to every major city in Australia and did every major equine event there that there is to do. Dan Steers, one of the most incredible horsemen and people that I've ever got to know. We still to this day bounce stuff back and forth continually off one another. And then the person that kind of really then jumped us forward was a guy by the name of Heath Harris. He was one of the horse masters, done lots of different major horse films all around the world. And Heath got us up and going when it came to the Liberty side of things. One of the major things about Liberty is that it helps to create situations about choice, which is where the word liberty becomes so important in this. So when we create scenarios that our horses, that we're asking for them to choose, it puts their mindset in a different place. Liberty is about developing a connection. So there has to be that level of connection there. And that connection is just like you and I sitting across here from the camera, having a conversation. There's a connection there that we can create to communicate and have that there. So when we start out working with a Liberty horse, for me in particular, I start out in a smaller round pen, 40, 50 feet. And I have to position myself in relation to that horse. That's what we call about catching the horse's eye. So that's the first interaction that I have with most horses when I go to work them at Liberty. I start out in a smaller area so that I can adjust my body angles, my body position in relation to the horse to create that interaction. Horses are masters at being able to read body language, position, energy that we bring to the arena, to the round pen, whatever that might be. Horses are good at being able to understand that, receive that, and then it's up to us to start to read that.
With Liberty, when they're completely free, like they have to learn to solve the problem, they have to learn to think, and not a lot of horses have had that freedom, and they start to see things as thinking their way through it and learning their way through it instead of just mechanically doing what they feel like is asked of them.
To a degree, that horse in that moment, he can show you that he's present both in his mind and physically by doing the job at hand, but he can also become absent-minded and not in the moment, but yet still physically be there. So when it comes to the Liberty, that shows up. Because the moment that he's no longer there mentally and he checks out, he's gone. You can't hide that. When we can take that and we can help that horse learn how to focus, help him to know that there's choices there. These are the consequences if you take this line. These are the consequences if you take this line. So there's choice in there that the horse gets.
Even as amazing as Dan is, he doesn't walk out with the first horse and like it does all the things that his horses do. Like all of us start somewhere. There's a process, there's learning, there's setbacks, there's highs, there's lows, there's all of that. It takes hours of practice. It's just like any other discipline. There's a foundation and there's the boring stuff and there's what you see.
I want to start building and communicating to my horse, hey, I want you to be able to move around me. I want you to be able to change direction. Creating those body positions and angles is the first integral steps of what we're able to do to start to build what looks like a dance. Two of the horses that I have that I do the Liberty Roman riding on, I brought them with me when I came from Australia. One of them is just like the die-hard, good old soul has been from the entire time I've had him. And the other one, my mare, Amelia, is like your crazy ex-girlfriend. I mean, I'm talking the first time I caught her, she bit me on the chest so hard, you know, when you're trying to like scream and nothing comes out. Those horses, what they have taught me and what we've been through together, I mean, they've toured all over America, all over Canada, all over Australia. I've got such history there with them. Then I've got Swampy through an event called Road to the Horse, was my colt that we were fortunate enough to win on. This horse is just like, drop him out, 1,000,000 acres. I could ask him to do the same thing there as I could here in the arena. Honest, just so honest, give you his heart. Liberty's actually been strung along for a very long time, but most of those people that were teaching it were very secretive about it. They didn't want everybody to know because they were worried about who's going to come and see my horse do this trick if everybody knows how to do it.
I think that trick, you know, there's something to that. Most people hear that word that do Liberty and are like, I don't just do tricks. Like my horse isn't a trick horse, it's a Liberty horse. There is definitely a difference. All Liberty horses could do tricks, but not all trick horses can do Liberty. And so there's not always that crossover of the words that you usually hear associated with it. The ILHA, the International Liberty Horse Association, is something that we started in 2019. We wanted to give people that love liberty the opportunity for them to be in the spotlight, for them to get to show, for them to get to compete and meet other people and win ribbons. And so the ILHA was really an opportunity to give a platform for people who love liberty, but also to give a community where they could all come together for this shared love of this style of horsemanship. The ILHA especially tries to make liberty get the respect that it deserves as a discipline all in and of itself. I think there's a stigma associated with it that it's rainbows and butterflies and it's all about relationships and you just kind of go out there and play with your horse. And really in creating patterns and creating competition and creating a rubric and a judging system, we want to show that this is a discipline. It has its own maneuvers. There are confines that make it a discipline, but also creativity within that for freestyles and artistic impressions.
The heart of the organisation was to give people a platform that weren't going to have an opportunity to go out and to present in front of a crowd, weren't going to have the opportunity to do something more with it than just at home.
I think all disciplines, but really in the liberty of all levels, we find that people just love the freestyle. They have a story they want to tell. They have a song that they love. They want to dress their horse up in costume.
It doesn't just grow the sport or help you win the next thing. It betters your connection with your horse because of the competition element. And the challenge that we have, it's kind of like almost performing arts. Like, how do I take the horse and do something that's uniquely different with him to reach this audience that hasn't been done before? And so there's only so many essential movements that the horse can do. There's only so much lighting and sound that we can do. So it's trying to configure those patterns of the horse action, the theme, the feel, the music, the light, into something that creates and presents differently.
You couldn't even keep with me in the stop, mate.
Hey, let's not start poking fingers, mate.
Well, what are you talking about? You've got to see if you can stay with me.
I'll stay with you, don't worry about that. Yeah, woo back, big fella, woo back. Now,
I guess you kind of stayed a little bit there. What else you got?
Dan is an artistic genius. What he can do and his creativity level, and he's such a professional from outside of reining freestyles at putting together acts and watching acts for years that he knows how it should progress. And so he'll make the tiniest tweaks and it totally changes the flow of it. That team of Dan's horses, when they go in, they know that they're on and they know they're show horses. I swear they know they're performing. A lot of horses get nervous in an environment where there's lights and music and crowds and dark, and I swear his horses do better in that. He builds a relationship that when that energy comes up, they look to him. They're so connected.
You know, liberty is connection. It is a dance. It is moving with the horse, but it's also about creating rhythms and patterns and cadence in what we do. When we're working on the ground with the horse and the movements go from just being a thought and idea to actually seeing that cadence in practice and happening, that poetry in motion, right? There's those moments that are very easy to stand out. One of the moments for me in particular is what we refer to the Liberty Roman riding. When you're in that moment, there's such small elements that you don't want to have go wrong. The horse trip, the horse step, the horse shy, but when you're in that moment, there's absolutely nothing that I can do that if he was to choose to leave, run off, that I can stop him from doing. Still to this very moment, in the hundreds of hours that I've done it, is still one of the most incredible things that I've ever got to experience in my life. Just seeing all these different minds and bodies come together in that one moment.
How loud can you get for Dan James?
in a realm where beauty, skill, and dedication converge. Riders and their equine counterparts achieve more than sport. They create art. In a quiet arena, creativity meets passion as each nuanced gesture becomes a whisper in a dialogue of faith and precision. In the ballet of dressage, the real pursuit is not victory, but the artistic symbiosis of rider and horse. In the movements of liberty, reins are set aside, making way for a free-flowing conversation in choice and respect. Every canter, every lead change, every unspoken cue forms a dance, a seamless weave of unity, choice, and expression, ever-changing, yet forever bound by the timeless rhythm of trust and respect.